Does it ever feel like the world is constantly testing your limits? We're living in an age of chaos. It's easy to feel powerless, tossed around by events we can't control, distracted by endless noise, and anxious about a future that feels deeply uncertain. But what if the key to mastering this chaos was forged nearly 2,000 years ago? Imagine being a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. He had to rule through constant warfare on the frontiers of his empire, a devastating plague that may have claimed up to 10 million lives, and even betrayal from a trusted general. Yet, somehow, he held the empire together without losing his mind. What was his secret? It wasn't his army or his incredible wealth. It was a mental discipline that turned all that external chaos into untouchable inner strength. And today, we're going to unlock it. The power Marcus Aurelius tapped into wasn't some mystical gift. It was a practical philosophy for living called stoicism. He wrote his masterpiece, Meditations, not for us, but for himself. It was his private journal, a way to practice these principles and remind himself how to stay calm, just, and resilient under unimaginable pressure. This journal reveals a profound truth: the only empire worth ruling is the one inside your own head. His real power came from mastering his own mind. So, how can we do the same? Let's break down the 5 core principles you can use to turn the chaos of modern life into your own source of strength. It all starts with a simple, but revolutionary idea the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. Here it is: some things are up to us, and some things are not. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the cornerstone of the whole philosophy. It's about dividing everything in your life into 2 simple categories: things you can control, and things you can't. Your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, how you respond to things, that's your domain. Everything else, the weather, the economy, what other people think of you, getting stuck in traffic, is not. The secret isn't to pretend you don't care about those external things. It's to consciously refuse to waste your energy on what you can't change. Think about it. Most of our anxiety comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When we focus our energy only on our own thoughts and actions, we find an incredible sense of freedom and power. We stop fighting the wind and learn to build a better sail. Think about your job. You can't control if your company downsizes or if some new AI makes your role obsolete. Worrying about it just drains you. But you can control how you respond. You can control whether you spend an hour a day learning a new skill. You can control your attitude, your work ethic, and the people you connect with. You can control how ready your resume is and how you'll react if a setback does happen. A Stoic doesn't hope for a calm sea, they learn to sail in any weather. The next time you feel frustrated or anxious, ask yourself, is this really in my control? If the answer is no, practice letting it go. If the answer is yes, then put all your energy right there. This second principle flows directly from the first. If our real power is in our mind, then how we see things is way more important than the things themselves. Marcus understood that we suffer more from our stories about events than from the events themselves. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This is a total game changer. The traffic jam isn't bad. It's your thought, "This is ruining my day," that makes you angry. A critique from a coworker doesn't sting on its own. It's the story you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or they're out to get me, that causes the pain. Marcus gives us an even more powerful mantra: choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you question your first impressions. You create a tiny bit of space between what happens and how you react. In that space, you get to choose your perception. You can see a setback as a disaster, or you can see it as a lesson. You can see an insult as an attack, or just as someone else's opinion that you don't have to agree with. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. The automatic reaction: a jolt of anger. Your heart races. You feel disrespected. Now, let's apply the stoic pause. The event is neutral. A car moved into your lane. The story you're telling yourself is, that jerk has no respect for anyone. What if you chose a different story? Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Maybe they just made a mistake. Or, even better, what if you chose not to form an opinion at all? You see it, you adapt, and you let it go, keeping your inner peace. When you refuse to be harmed by the small injustices of daily life, you're building an inner fortress. If you're finding this useful and want to keep building your own inner fortress, take a second to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring these big ideas to more people. The third secret is to plant your feet firmly in the present moment. How often are our minds wandering in one of two places they have no power: the past or the future? We get dragged down by regrets about things we can't change, or we get paralyzed by anxiety about what might happen. Marcus saw this as a massive waste of a perfectly good life. He reminded himself, do not let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Do not assemble in your mind the many and varied troubles which have come to you in the past and will come again in the future. Instead, his advice was to focus only on the task right in front of you. The past is over, and the future is uncertain. The only time you can actually live, the only time you can act, is right now. He wrote, past and future have no power over you, only the present. When you narrow your focus to just this one moment, you realize that even the toughest situations are bearable. You can handle this moment. And then the next one. And the one after that. Think about the pressure of a huge presentation or a final exam. The anxiety isn't coming from the presentation itself. It's coming from you imagining all the ways it could go wrong. You see yourself forgetting your lines, the audience looking bored, your boss looking disappointed. The Stoic approach is to pull your mind back to right now. You can't control the outcome next week. But you can control what you do in this moment. You can research one more slide. You can practice your opening line one more time. You can organize your notes. When you break a giant future fear into tiny, manageable present actions, the anxiety starts to fade. Live right now. Focus on the task in front of you and give it everything you've got. That's where your power is. This fourth principle might sound a bit weird at first, maybe even pessimistic. But stick with me, because it's one of the most powerful psychological tools out there. It's the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning, Marcus would get ready for his day by thinking about the difficult people he might have to deal with. He wrote, begin each day by telling yourself, today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. This wasn't him being a downer, this was psychological armor. By expecting challenges, he made sure they could never catch him by surprise. When you anticipate that things might go wrong or that people might be difficult, You aren't shocked or thrown off course when they are. You can meet those obstacles with a calm, prepared mind. And there's a bonus: this practice builds gratitude. By briefly thinking about losing what you have, your health, your job, the people you love, you learn to appreciate them so much more in the present. It turns comfort from something you take for granted into something you're thankful for. Let's say you have a big client meeting. Instead of just hoping it goes well, take 5 minutes for some negative visualization. Imagine the client hates your proposal. Imagine your laptop dies and you can't show your slides. Imagine they ask a tough question you didn't prepare for. Now, what would you do? How would you handle each of those situations with grace? By rehearsing adversity in your head, you're basically giving yourself an emotional vaccine. If the meeting goes great, you'll be pleasantly surprised. If it goes badly, you'll be prepared, not panicked. You've already faced the worst in your mind, and you know you can handle it. The final principle, the one that gave Marcus Aurelius his unstoppable drive, was a deep sense of purpose. For a Stoic, discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about aligning your actions with a clear mission. Marcus famously wrote about the struggle to get out of bed. He'd imagine himself wanting to stay under the warm covers, and then he'd remind himself of his job. So you were born to feel nice. Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order? And you're not willing to do your job as a human being. Why aren't you running to do what your nature demands? He believed every person has a job to do, a duty to contribute to the greater good. When you are crystal clear on your why, the how gets a lot easier. Discipline stops being a struggle and starts being the natural way you operate. It's the compass that guides every single one of your decisions. In our world of infinite distractions, it's so easy to just drift. We bounce from one cheap thrill to the next, chasing goals that society sets for us, and then wonder why we feel empty. To apply this Stoic lesson, you have to ask yourself the big questions. What is my purpose? What do I stand for? What contribution do I want to make? This doesn't have to be some grand, world-changing mission. Your purpose could be to be the best parent you can be. It could be to create art. It could be to be a kind and reliable friend and neighbor. Once you define that purpose, it becomes the ultimate filter. Before you waste an hour scrolling social media, you can ask, does this serve my purpose? Before getting into a pointless argument, you ask, is this worthy of my time? That clarity is what separates a meaningful life from a chaotic one. So, the secret power of Marcus Aurelius wasn't a secret at all. It's a set of timeless principles that are available to every single one of us. First, focus only on what you can control, your mind and your actions. Second, remember that it's not events, but your opinion of them, that defines your reality. Third, live in the present moment, because it's the only place you have any real power. Fourth, prepare for obstacles so you can meet them with strength instead of shock. And fifth, live a life guided by a clear and unwavering purpose. The world will always be chaotic. There will always be challenges, big and small. But as Marcus Aurelius showed us, the chaos outside doesn't have to become chaos inside. You have the power to build an inner citadel, a fortress of calm and resilience that no external event can ever tear down. This strength isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you can train, starting today. If you're ready to start building your inner fortress, subscribe for more wisdom like this. And let us know in the comments which of these 5 principles you're going to start practicing today.